Welcome. I trust everyone is well, and I apologise for our technology issues on Tuesday. We had the internet block out, 3 or 4 times, and I sincerely feel bad for what happened. I'm very sorry. I'm not a tech person. That shit's way above my pay grade. But I was told about 12, 15 minutes in that it started cutting out. We continued in the hope that we could send it across to you. So welcome today. The conversation today is about building capacity. Building capacity is very important because if we're coming from a zero start, and I'm going to make an assumption. You shouldn't often do this, but I feel it's upon me to be able to have strategy and methodology that's going to be applicable to all. I'm going to take the assumption that you're starting from zero, if not 14, 18, 24 grand, 100 grand worth of credit card debt below zero. And I think the most formidable way for you and I to work together is going to be assume the worst. And if you're in a better position than that, well, then obviously we can turbocharge and move forward. So a couple of things. Should you wish to and feel the need, please send the link to your friends if you feel that they need some help with money. Our objective here is to really get you to a place where you understand, feel comfortable with money, but also have a great relationship with this resource. Wealth, affluence is like oxygen. You must have it. But so many of us seem to struggle to grasp what it is and how the rich do what they do. And this is really the science and the diagnosis of how that comes about. How is it, Mark, that people get a lot of money and they continue to compound those effects? That's what this process and this series is really about for you. So send the link, get that out there. I'm going to ask you to post your number one takeaway from this afternoon's piece. That helps us. It helps us get some higher algos, and we'll cover off a few bits and pieces as we close out today. So building capacity. Tuesday we talked about, Mark, what's the highest ROI on any investment? And we know the answer. That's you. So the more that you start to plug into material, podcast, the internet, read, switching out your circle of friends, these are all going to have a dramatic effect on the value that you build within you. There is no other higher ROI in life than yourself. So the more that you and I invest, the more savvy we become, the more sophisticated we become. But I guess the more richer we become as people and professionals as well. So it's important to note that when I talk about building capacity, a couple of things that sort of go off in my mind. Firstly, grab a pen. I'm going to suggest that you definitely need to start reading. You need to think about how many nights a week can I afford to read? Is it 1, 2? The kids go to bed at sort of 8, 8:30. Does that give me like a 30-minute window? It doesn't have to be long. Some nights with my daughter, I'll only squeeze in 15, 20 minutes at best. She always wants to watch funny fails before she goes to sleep. I think it's a great thing. It sort of puts her in a great mood and it finishes off the day with some humour. We don't do television in my home. We do not do devices in my house at any time. It's holidays and it's a delayed flight. It's the only time she's allowed access to technology. She has enough of that at school. I don't want her to be, blue-eyed, blue screen-eyed. There's no value in that. So at night, I'd suggest how many times a week can you afford to read? You want to be smashing at least 2 podcasts a week. From a practical perspective, you want to make sure those topics are around things that you feel are weaknesses. Now, if it's money, great, that's easy. If it's confidence, that might be something different. If it's relationships, Mark, I'm going to plug into podcasts that really help me and serve my relationship. Great. Podcasts are minimum 2. And I want you to start to make assessment of what are the new circles that you need to, create, foster, that are going to pull you into that world. I'll give you an example. What kind of people are around you is a good marker of where you are financially. Robert Kiyosaki said this so well, chapter 11. Tell me your 7 closest friends and I'll tell you your income to the closest $1,000. What he was saying is, if you make an assessment of all your friends, buddies, colleagues, girlfriends, add up the closest 7 friends, divide it by 7 as an average, and he can tell you what your income is. That's fucking profound. And if you think about your friends, it's probably true as well. It doesn't change much at all over time. So I want you to start to consider, what circles of friends do I need to manifest, think of? How do I sort of make myself uncomfortable and push into new peers? That circle is going to make an enormous amount of difference for you. We did some material the other day in a studio, and one of my key friends, a dear friend, for quite a few years now, but just a very sweet soul, a gentleman, late 50s, very switched on, wildly successful in life, but then in business as well. They're the sort of people that I want to aspire to. They're the people I pull in close and make time for. Tomorrow I've got some meetings. Very successful developer, self-made man, to the tune of about 400 mil. Smart guy, but wants to ask me my advice, my counsel on the manufactured home park space in the future. He's got all these assets across the country, land banked, about 13,000 lots in total. But given the state of the residential market, this guy cannot get pre-sales. He can't take the stuff and sell it. So we're talking tomorrow specifically about, Mark, how would I carve off 6-7 hectares and get a development approval for 280 manufactured homes or a land lease estate, a land lease community? They're the peers, again, that you ask yourself, how do I break into them circles? I know they're going to lift me up. They're going to have higher expectations. Hanging out with a guy that's worth 400, maybe a bit better, is a great way to spend an afternoon. It's nice that we can exchange dialogue, that I got something of value. And this is what I'm saying to you very importantly now. The more that you invest in you, the more you have to offer. So when you say to me, Mark, I don't know anybody like that, why would they even talk to me? Because you're going to build capacity in such a way that you become quite knowledgeable, interesting, you become savvy, charismatic, you become an interesting soul that has so much to offer. And as your, I suppose, value changes, value increases, people recognise that you have something to offer them as well. So, I want to be clear that you can't just sit there watching Home and Away and expect to be rich. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes some dedication. And it's also going to take some mental tenacity from your part as well. So with that, any questions you've got?
I guess my question, Mark, is how I'm really trying to define building capacity at the moment and just really trying to define what that actually means. Are you talking that all these things are going to help us to build our capacity?
100%.
Gotcha.
Building capacity is about you becoming more savvy, more intellectual around the subject of money, or other areas in your life that you don't feel that you're doing well in. I'm always arguing with my partner, my boyfriend. I'm always arguing with my husband, whatever it might be. I'm always arguing with my colleagues at work. I'm always the black sheep. How do I build capacity to start to really nail those parts, those weaknesses that I need to address?
And capacity is like full capacity would be full productivity. It would be full success. It
is. And it's a well-rounded individual. I think that you build the person before you build the empire. If you think of it like that, I think it's very important. I don't think that you just arrive. There's no such thing as someone winning a lotto ticket and then being rich for the rest of their lives. We know the statistics. So it's about building capacity. But the second part of building capacity is how do I, and this we touched on this Tuesday, how do I now, Mark, really build money? How do I get good at this relationship thing? How do I magnify what I've got? And unfortunately, as the internet cut out, we started getting the juicier parts. But grab a pen and start writing a few things. Firstly, we need to get you to $30,000 worth of savings. I would say to you that is really the break point. Because, Mark, I've only got 4.5. I've only ever got $7,000. My bank account has never been above $11,000. Or I've got $5,000 in the bank, but I've got $60,000 with a credit card debt. How the heck do I get myself out of that fucking mess, We've got to get you to $30,000 cash in a bank. Why? That proves to you that you have really now mastered the idea of discipline. I know how to create more. I'm resourceful with it. I'm not erratic on Friday night. I'm not putting on the horses Saturday in the hope that I might fucking win. It comes back to you, and it's starting to build this trust in you, but it's also starting to build a sense of work ethic as well. So my target for you is to get you to $30,000 cash. Now let's start with us, build capacity. The second part, build capacity, is what do I need to do to start working at that $30,000 at the same time? So I'm reading books, I'm doing the podcast thing, Mark. I'm starting to expand my circles. I'm asking myself, is he, she a good fit for me long term? Are they really bringing the best out of me, or am I just hanging around because we've always been mates from school? You know, does this person have something to offer? Or I just feel like I'm just treading water, spinning wheels whenever I'm in their company. As you think about building capacity financially, though, I want you to ask yourself, what are you currently good at? What do you do? What's your profession? What's your vocation? What business? What do you do now? And ask yourself, how do I create an extra $400-500 a week with that current skill set? I don't think it's wise. I don't think it's intelligent to have, 40, 50 grand worth of debt or 100 grand worth of debt or $1 million mortgage, 6 grand in the bank, and then looking to swap out and change your whole skill set like that. I don't think that's going to see you in a great place. People get very fearful. They start to sort of doubt themselves, if you will. They start to question, why the fuck am I doing this? I'm doing 3-4 nights. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. I've got no idea what I'm even talking about. Versus, I've already got this current skill set. Mark, I'm a dental assistant. I can do Saturdays. I can make an extra $260 after tax by working from 8 till 4 on Saturday. That's your $30,000. Mark, I'm a roof tiler. I want to get out of the world of construction because, quite frankly, my back's done. I'm 44. I've there's nowhere for me to move or grow in my career. Great. Let's now start with the skills that you've been given. Let's make an extra $300, $400 a week. We squirrel that away. We put in a separate bank account with no card. You have no access unless you walk into the bank or you're doing internet banking. That's it. The only prerequisite, the only sort of caveat I put across that is if savings now become an urgent matter for a child. That's the only time we have access to that money. But other than that, we starve, we discipline ourselves, we cut up credit cards, we just say, no, I'm fucking done. I'm gonna manage my money better. This is about change. It starts with me. Quite frankly, I don't care what it is. I don't care how pretty that bag is. I don't care how many sales are on at the local mall. I couldn't give a shit. I'm going to nail this money thing and send the ball through the goalpost. Once and for all, I'm done with it. I'm done with the struggle. I'm done with the shit, the issues, the fear of not having enough. I'm sick to death of seeing bills on the fridge that I can't pay on time. It comes down to the decisions that you make. They define who you are. So let's be clear. We're going to stick to the plan. We want to build your capacity as a person and then double that out with how do I build capacity to the extent of $30,000. Now with 30 grand, you and I can plug in a series of different strategies, like a dozen. But 30 grand's kind of that starting point where the wheels get turning. We need to get some inertia. There's no point having 2 grand, 3 grand, 6 grand. It's about 30. Now, if we can target an 8, 9, 10% return, we're making about 2,600, 3 grand a year on the side of what you've currently got as a job. That's nice. That's 3 grand a year you didn't have. But next year it's 33,000. The year after that's 37,000. The year after that's 41.5. And we're making progress. You might say it's pretty slow. Not really. Exponentially that starts to speed up because we've got access to more. Now with savings, history and credit, we can go borrow as well. But a lot of us are in that position or our CRA is in tatters and we haven't done the fucking work. So this is what it's about. It's sort of a reset and building out that capacity. Any questions, you?
I did have a question, and I hope it's on topic, but it's about, you mentioned in one of your other talks that, the case where someone might have, 4 or 5 investment properties.
Yes.
And they're going down.
Yes.
And I always had in my mind that if you had investment properties, then you were well off.
No. Because your relationship with money, if it hasn't been fostered, if you haven't galvanised a relationship with money, it doesn't matter what the fuck you've got. It's all at risk. So it might look good. You think about the guy that runs around the new Range Rover and all the shit. You think in your mind, your perception is that guy's well off. She's well off. She's got it sorted. Her nails are always done. She looks terrific. They're often the most fucking broke. It doesn't mean they manage money well. That's a different discussion. And it's funny, you see this a lot. Think about the people that have got they've always got a bad attitude. It's always the people that are rich that seem to be a lot more kind, warm and empathetic. Watch a restaurant on a Friday night. It's the fucking idiot that walks through the door. Excuse my French. I get so annoyed with this. It really pisses me off. And they walk in like they're the master. They own the fucking place. They've got no money, but they're ordering and directing around with these expectations of the waitress, the waiter, the maitre d'. And they're throwing commands around. You don't really get that a whole lot when people are significantly wealthy. Why? They've got nothing to fucking prove. They've already done it. They've established. They've already met that threshold. Their money more than covers their expenses. They're in a different place. It's the person, it's the guy, it's the gal that's so bitter and so nasty. They're the ones you got to fucking watch. They're the ones that got nothing. $800 in the bank and a brand new Range Rover. They're the ones that are troublesome.
It's almost like the ego comes in and fills the rest of that capacity. You know, that's not there. It's like the ego fills that to make them feel.
It really, the ego is a very dangerous thing, particularly in those earlier days. Ego is somewhat healthy. I think more so for men than women. Women manage their ego quite well. Men are a little different, but we're fueled differently too. If someone says we can't do it, fuck, that's enough for our ego to go, watch me. That's healthy. But the antithesis of that is that you have this arrogance about men that are on their way up. And it's unfounded. It's not necessary. Does that make sense? It's confidence, yes, but confidence and ego are completely different things. It's confidence and a belief in me that I can do it, but to sit there and go, yeah, you fucking get me this, you get me that, they're the ones that often don't have the pockets. So we talk about building capacity. You know, the $30,000, we need to make sure that we're on that target. I would say to you now, put a circle around 12, 16 months. That's about a healthy timeline of which you're going to now push in, make an extra $240, $500 a week, $238 a week after tax. It might be packing shelves at BWS. It could be packing shelves at Woolies. I've done it all. It could be window cleaning on the weekend. Done that too. Mowing lawns. Folks, whatever is necessary. You know, there's some great client feedback. I remember of a couple. She was a PE teacher and he was a baggage handler for Qantas. And these two were always broke. As you just said before, a couple of investment properties, they found their way to us. Now, he got retrenched from Qantas. He was packing shelves, he's doing every other job. His parents were putting food in the fridge for their 3 children. But he had to, I think the learning, or I suppose the turnaround for him, was he did not have a good relationship with money. As soon as he'd get it, he'd fucking torch it, burn it up. He didn't know how to keep it. And when you get good at saving and responsible with money, it's funny how it continues to stick with you. Does that make sense? There's a bit of a dynamic. It's hard to explain. But the more responsible you seem to come with it, the more it seems to attach itself to you.
It's kind of like the horse before the cart expression, right?
It is a little. You've got to get good at it. And you can't have this frivolous mentality of, oh, she'll be right. I'll just get another job next week. I'll do another I'll do another carpentry job next week. I'll make up for it. That's nonsense. You are just chasing the never, never. It's about addressing it and going, this is what I have. This is what I earned. Fuck it. I'm going to make it work. You watch me. Does that make sense? Big difference. That's a cultural shift of, I'm going to be the person in my family, in my heritage, that becomes that millionaire, becomes very fucking wealthy and free. That's not about how much you've got. It's about working with what you have. So, is it making sense? Yeah. All right, so building capacity. We've got to get you to $30,000. And in that, there's going to be some change. You want to read like a banshee. You want to get soaked into those podcasts, marinate in those things. Question the circle. Start to build out new circles, colleagues, friends, peers. But they're playing at a higher game. Get uncomfortable. Ring them up. Fire a text. Hey, listen, I've got a friend of mine. He's a very, very successful business owner, but he doesn't have one business. He has multiple businesses in different areas. That's a skill set that I just don't own. And you would know some of the most common brands in this country, as in chains. He started a significant chain here. To his credit, he's replicated that in different industries. Now, he's not a close friend, but I'm doing my best to adopt a friendship with him because he's definitely got different skills to me. He's a fucking renegade. He'll just walk in and go, I'm going to dominate the whole space. And he has these people that he finds, and all of a sudden he's making progress, inroads, into something that he doesn't even know about. What's that? He's got no experience, no prior experience at all. But that culture, that business mindset of his is, I can take them principles and adopt them in that industry, and the same in that industry. I don't have that skill. You know, I've got property that I'm really good at, really strong, but I'm a one-trick pony. He's not. And that's an interesting skill. That's the kind of person that I need to enroll and envelop in my life. Does that make sense? All right, some quick questions. I'm going to keep today's piece short. I just want to make sure that we've wrapped up Tuesday's piece, sadly, but more importantly, that you've got some specific actions, some steps to take away. And that $30,000, mark my words, we can do a lot with that. It's about hitting that benchmark and going, righto, what's available to me? Teach me the basics, the fundamentals of investing. What's safe, what's smart, what's not, and how do I get a return and continue to build that purse? How do I get good at this and reduce my expenses at the same time? So this is from Lucas C. Mark, it seems that you're saying that I need help to start networking and surrounding myself with people that are focused and on the same journey to success as me. How would you suggest we meet people like that? As I said, Lucas, make sure that you've got value. If you build capacity, start extending yourself. You'll meet them in circles, work, friendships, mates. They'll have a friend of a friend. There'll be something particular you admire about him or her. Get their number, get their email address, invite them in or invite yourself in. You've got to get uncomfortable, my friend. Break into circles like that. Make an effort. Don't be sitting on the sidelines. Let me scroll down here. There we go. Oh, no, have I got that wrong? There we go. Okay, cool. Now, Joan P. Mark, to start and get to an amount of $30,000, would you say to invest to build that 30 grand, or just budget hard and save as much as you can to build that 30 grand? I would say, Joan, whatever skills you've got, I want you to go out there and apply more of those skills for a greater return each week. If you happen to be, a dentist, great. We're going to do 4 hours, 7 hours more in the office, in the chair, and we're going to earn an extra $300-400 a week and then squirrel that away. So to be clear, it's not necessarily budgeting hard, although we have talked about it in the past. I want you to focus on how I can move my circle of earnings out into a broader way. We need to produce more. You can't be sitting there going, oh man, I'd love a new car. We're going to need more money to purchase that car. Let's go earn the money. Doing what you do currently is the best and fastest way to do that. It's the safest way for now. Michael, Mark, you suggested that we use our skills after hours to build extra money on the side. I have a lot of skills that help others and work hard in my work. However, how do you put a value on what skills are worth when the skills aren't the same as a tradie or an industry like that? Well, Michael, I don't know what your industry you're in, what you do, but I'm going to say do more of it and get a greater earning. Build out your capacity, get more money through the door. This $30,000 is going to be very important for us to be able to springboard you into that next phase of investing and getting better at money. So you're saying you work hard, but put a value. So I don't know what you do, mate, but certainly it's got to either be, based on a success fee. Could be one way you do it. It could be an hourly rate, sure. It could be for a target reached, a KPI. It could be for a metric that you know of. If you work in businesses or consult, if you're an engineer, it could be a success fee for the project. It could be a percentage fee. Whatever that is, you've got to be able to produce at least $300, $400, $500 a week additional on top of what you're doing. And I would even say now to tradies, same thing. I find tradies are quite unique these days in the sense that, come Friday, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, you won't see them, they're gone. And tradies don't even work Saturdays anymore. My time was always Saturday till at least 2, 3 o'clock on the other. There is an opportunity. Tradies are making 250 grand a year these days. I mean, it's wild. We see them coming through here and investing. We look at their financial snapshot and it's like, my God, they've done well, them too. But their earnings are very, very high. So my suggestion would be to, go out there and get another job, finish it on a Saturday, do the extra work and earn the dollars that you need.
Just on that point, I personally took me a long time to start to charge at least what I was worth. Yeah.
Good question.
So without absolutely not, overindulging, but it took me a long time to get to that point where I was just charging.
Confidence in your skills. Yes.
I was just charging exactly what I was worth. Could back it up was justified,
Okay.
easy. And this working harder you're talking about on the skills you've already got. It seems like it's like building that value of yourself, and so that if there's any gaps where we're not charging enough,
Sure.
like it seems like they need to be addressed.
Sure. You're saying if there's a skills shortage, I've got to look at them so they can charge the appropriate amount.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
And you're saying that's in the theme of building capacity.
Yes.
Getting better at what you do, getting better as a human being, becoming more skilled, more valued, yeah.
And have you got any tips? What would you say to someone like me who's basically delivering a certain amount of value, but they're not charging enough for it?
I would say charge more than the market, but have a point of difference. You cannot go to market and say, well, the average rate, to let's just say something simple. I don't know, something really basic. Let's just say we're going to build a shed, and the shed's going to cost 10 grand. But I would more than happily, given the pressure and the amount of demand in the world today, you can't get employees, you can't seem to get shit and supplies that you need on time. There is a desperation in our economy. That's an opportunity. Entrepreneurs know that. So instead of going out and do the status quo of 10 grand, I'd probably charge 10, 6, 11 grand, a bit more. But I would offer service, and I would be prompt, and I would always add integrity. I'd always say, if I'm starting on the 3rd of September, this fucking thing will be done by the 28th, and stick to it. Just integrity in business is really like a master stroke. How often I see, these idiots running around with this short game viewpoint. Oh, it's just about rape and pillage. Pick up this, get that, stitch them. It doesn't matter, didn't get finished properly. And your reputation's in tatters. And you might get away with it. I don't know, 4, 5, 10 years, you might be able to do that. You might pull that off if you're lucky. But if you're playing a long game, that integrity flows into your businesses, your operations, your investments, your life, your portfolio. We're here in the office of the HQ today of Navaset. The team's gone to lunch because of our internet issues at my house. But it flows into here. You don't see anybody here without integrity. So how would you do it? How would you charge more? Deliver on what you say you're going to do, but do it exceptionally well. I would much prefer to do one project a year, for example, a development arm, right? I would much prefer to do one project a year, but make it very fruitful, profitable, make it wildly profitable, than rather doing 4 and running around like an idiot. Try to do everything at once. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
I think it's fueled by competition, competing and that fear of losing the work.
Correct. But people put themselves in that place. There's business owners here online that will continue to say to me, no, Mark, I sell disposable cups for coffee. You're not going to get any more than 1.9 cents. Fuck that. There's always a way. Don't tell me it can't be done.
What would you do?
Easy. I just say, listen, 1.9 cents, I'll make it 1.6, but you're going to buy 20,000 cups. You can choose. Or I can give you this cup and I can do this. Or I'll just give you 100% money back guarantee if the cup doesn't work. There are so many ways that I'd skin the cat. But I wouldn't settle for 1.9 cents a cup, and that's the industry standard. That's a load of bullshit. That's a lack of creativity. And entrepreneurs, that's what our skill set is thinking outside the square and then making shit happen. That's what we're good at. There's nothing new, but it's about considering it a new perspective. Nothing's changed in the world, but it's about your perception. How do I change? How do I actually make this more valued? And if we can start with ourselves, if you get this, the last piece to wrap this up is you and I must build value within us. You hear people have midlife crisis and their business has failed or the business is not growing. They're not fucking growing. That's all it is. The business will only grow at the speed of the CEO. That's it. Do you reckon Elon Musk fucking grows? Do you reckon that dude reads books? Do you reckon Joe Rogan? I mean, these guys are just machines when they absorb data and material. That's all they do is just read. It makes sense. They need creativity. They don't have a 70-year window to go out and learn them lessons. But if they can get the distillation from somebody else and go, oh, that was a good idea, that's what I'll do. And that's how they move. That's how they move at speed. And that's what we've got to do, is learn to build value in ourselves and then go monetize that value. Because the fucking skill set's wild. I sit down with a fellow tomorrow that's literally, a very successful chap indeed. Fucking smart guy. And his team equally. He's asking me about manufactured home parks. That I didn't have a fucking clue about manufactured home parks 6 years ago. Nothing. I barely even knew the industry existed. I'd seen over 55 parks before, had no attention at all to that space. And now you've got a pro in his field saying, do you think you could consult? I could consult, but it's going to be expensive. I'll tell you what I'll do for you, John. Let's arrange an equity stake in the whole thing. And that puts him at ease. If it works, great. I get this much percentage. If it doesn't work, well, I must have had no idea and we're wrong. You owe me nothing. Make sense? All right. So then, folks, just in wrap up, in summary, I'm just going to say to you one last thing. It's about building capacity. And that's for you. I think we've closed that off quite clearly. The second aspect of this is looking at your current skills. You know, what do you do for money now? And let's plug into that a little harder. This next 12, 13, 16 months between here and a 30 grand cachet of money in the bank, that's going to be very important. But instead of you trying to sort of get all fancy and swap out and then do something all fresh and new, I don't want you to lose traction. Let's just stick with what you know and what you currently do for the moment and then produce more and more income as a result of that skill. Let's sell more time, let's do more shit, let's sell more stuff, whatever that might be. But let's get you to a $30,000 break point, and now we can have a conversation about how do I deploy this money that sets me up to win. And you're going to say, well, Mark, it's only 30 G's. But it's 30 G's that you don't have right now. And it's the necessary 30 G's that's going to be a struggle and probably a challenge for you to produce. Off the back of that, 30,000 will be 3 million. And then so on and so on. We've got momentum now. Let's start with the basics. Let's bed down the fundamentals. Next session I'm going to see you will be about asset classes. If I've got now 30 grand, how do I, Mark, sensibly deploy this into the field where I don't have a lot of experience or street smarts? How do I place that money where I know it's going to return and get me a win? Then I can go back to the well, produce more money, and then pump it into that particular asset class. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about returns. We'll talk about manipulating returns to your advantage. So that'll be the session next Tuesday. I look forward to seeing you there. Any more questions you may have, by all means, feel free to fire them through. And any questions you have between now and Tuesday, feel free to fire them across to the team. Happy investing. Before I close out, please, again, put down your number one takeaway today. Post that for us. We've got an MTM event coming up real soon. That's called More Than Money. Should you wish to participate in that, you're going to learn how you and I put together a plan to win the game of money. Mark, I've got all this debt. I've heard about investing in property. I've got a business that's not doing so well. Listen, we're going to take all of that and condense that into a one-day program where you get the high points of money. Where have I fallen short? Why have I not got savings of $240,000? Why is it I still don't have my home paid off? What is this kind of this idea, this thing he keeps talking about, this relationship with money, whereby I know I've got more capacity? How do I now start to put myself in a place where I'm earning more? I've got property moving on the side. My business is firing. I'm doing well in money and in life also. How do I put all those pieces together? That's More Than Money. That's coming up on November 11. My suggestion is hit the details, fire a question to the team, how to become a part of that room. It's a digital delivery. I'll be doing it live with you in your lounge room, the kitchen bench, where it may be. And my suggestion is bring yourself a friend. Bring someone along that needs help with money. And you'll get it. You will get it. I'll ensure that when you walk away, you will have exactly what you need. Here's how I'm going to make my money. This is the strategy that's more suited to my skills. More importantly, I know exactly where I want to get to now. It's not just some vague idea on the horizon. I know exactly what I want to do. We're going through how those elements start to affect and make a difference in the quality of your life. So it's 11th of November. It's less than $500. It's 9 hours with me live, digitally produced, coming to you. And it's going to be a terrific opportunity for you to, genuinely get the message of, I can do this. If he can, I can too. And this is going to put you on the map financially. It's going to turn things around. And I can promise you this, that given the current climate of where we are economically and the cost of living in Australia, you can't afford not to do this. So my suggestion is hit the buy button, purchase, ask the questions of the team, and look forward to seeing you the 11th of November, and I'll see you next Tuesday for our session at midday live. This is Mark Rolton signing off. Bye for now.